Hello, I'm Blair Drawson, and welcome to another episode of Draw Like Drawson and Paint Too. I'm assuming that you are all visual artists of some kind. I have some, well, not secrets exactly, but I have some discoveries, let's put it that way, that I'd like to share with you. And that's really the whole purpose of these videos. So this particular lesson, shall we say, what I'd like to call playing with an idea. I'm going to prepare a ground for an idea that I'd like to take in two different directions. So the original drawing was a result of my playing around, basically starting with a blank mind and just sort of seeing where it goes. And this was the working drawing that I came up with. As you can see, there's patches of tissue and so on overlapping other things. I did a print of it just at the copier. That's what it is going to look like, and the painting will be at this proportion, I think. But I'm going to do two paintings, and I'm going to do one that is really closely based on this drawing, and it's going to be a cut and paste method that I have used off and on for decades. The one that I'm going to start today is going to be a much looser approach. I just want to give you a better view of the drawing. I realized you didn't see the bottom. See, there's a young lady here, and she's the whole key to the image. So I'm calling it the reader. I just did want to point out, though, that it's a fairly narrow picture, and the stock that I'm working on right now is just a little bit wider. So if we were to throw a diagonal up through these corners, we'd see it would probably come there. So we've got about, I don't know, 2.25, 2.5 inches more on this. And I want it that way because I am going to be drawing and working more loosely, probably going to appreciate having the space for that. There are just a few things that I want to do to anchor the image, or at least some reference points. So what I want to do is I want to cast this vertical down something like this. I'm going to just kind of move it like this for the time being, and I'm going to let it fade. So that is my first reference. I want to hold on to that and maybe put in a few little bits of noise down here and possibly up around here too, because I have plans. In the course of her reading, she has conjured up an image of a hero on a horse, shall we say. But he's coming from the moonlight, and she is in the sunlight. So the sun is going to be illuminating through here and maybe down here, and he and his steed, his wonderful horse, will emerging from the cool light of the moon. Another thing that I want to do, just to anchor it for me, is I want to do something like this. There's a diagonal that is created by the horse's body that I like, and you'll notice that I am, in fact, I can add a little bit of, as I say, a little bit of noise in here and there on the other place too. And I just sort of want to kind of figure where their faces are going to go. So something like that. And then I will be, for the most part, drawing this from memory. What I want to do is I want to turn this away. I don't even want to look at it. I can sort of remember what I wanted to do, and if I need to consult it, I will, but you know what? I'm going to try not to. Because this is following a idea, playing with the idea, seeing where it could go, where it could take me. And I think that if you could find some parallel in your own style, in your own work, kind of based on this idea, perhaps it could be a great use to you. Now that I've anchored the reference points in the image, essentially now what I want to do is prepare this ground and make it a whole lot more interesting than just the blank paper. I've got some acrylic colors, and frankly, acrylic colors raw from the tubes, they're not very nice. They aren't nice until you start to modulate them. So that's what we're going to do though. Basically, all I really know is that this side is going to be a bit darker. This side is going to be lighter. Sunny and positive colors. This is going to be more mysterious, all the mystery of the moon and so on. However, I don't even want to be thinking that much about narrative at this point, because essentially all I really want to do is start getting away from the paper. There's going to be a number of ways. I'm going to just sort of, as you can see, I'm using the paint quite liquid at this point with this big brush. It's just an old house painter's brush that I've been using for this purpose, knowing that there will be, I don't know, a certain amount of activity here and there. I want to kind of deliberately almost cancel out the reference stuff that I did. I don't want to lose it entirely, but I want to kind of get it off my mind. So this is what I'm saying. I'm working away here with just sort of random colorization. Right now it's going to look really kind of strange and messy. As you can see, there's lots of little accidental things that are happening because I'm not trying to control the paint particularly. So even when these weird little bits of green, for instance, are coming through, they're just little accidental touches on the brush. I don't mind that. It actually adds some kind of character, shall we say. I want to kind of get the description of a moon and the sun happening here, and I'm going to deliberately do it very, very loosely. Also want to pay attention to the edges. I don't want to have all the action happening in the middle of the picture. I'm going to start intermixing the warm and cool colors because there's not going to be a lot of primary colors here, you know, red, yellow, and blue. The primaries always to me seem like, here we are, we're the primaries. And that's fine, but maybe not for this picture. I think perhaps a little more refinement is in order. So I'm going to just, again, add things here and there. I'm also going to be putting in some chalk pastel as well. So we'll see how that gets built up. There's also going to be a sense of that happening right in there. So I am working on a Stonehenge paper. It does take a beating, but like any paper, if you keep scrubbing away at it, you will kind of fray the surface of it. I wouldn't be worried about that too much because essentially we're going to be keeping layers of acrylic over that, and acrylic is a plastic, it's a polymer. It will seal that paper, it will preserve that paper quite nice. Got some darker spots happening here, maybe here. Of course, it's all looking like a dog's breakfast right now, but let's let it be that way. I've been working on, with chalk pastel, some paint as well. It's still in a pretty rough state, but you can see figures pretty clearly. I want to start eliminating so much of this white in behind. The white is not serving very well right now. This is still very rough, but for now, I just want to define her a bit better. I'm going to just do that with this. So I want to keep knocking this background behind the horseman here. I want to just keep pushing that back so that it feels more nocturnal. Right now it's just a lot of scratches. But the thing about those, even though I paint over them, some of that character is still going to be bleeding through. It's going to make that application of color more lively than it would be otherwise. So you may notice that part of the background has been done. I'm making some decisions as to just how I want to modulate this color. I do want it darker than this to indicate a transition, a different state of mind, well, different state of light as well. So moonlit and sunlit, and that is actually sort of the undercurrent of the picture. You know, we have the narrative, naked woman reading a little book, fantasizing or conjuring up the galloping horseman. That's the obvious narrative of the picture. But there is another counterpart that is emerging as well, and that's the dialogue between the color and the tones and the textures, the forms, the shapes, all those sort of art school values. So what I'm going to do is grab a little bit of this turquoise, because I've been using some turquoise here and there. It's played kind of a minor role, and I want to just sort of keep it as a underpainting. I say underpainting because I still have the choice of pushing that back or saying, hey, I like the effect of that. Let's let it live. So I'm going to just do a little more in here. And we're going to gain a little bit more definition. And I forgot to mention, I'm not doing this with paint, obviously. I'm doing this with chalk pastel. The chalk pastel and the acrylic paint, in my experience, are good companions. They work together well. The paint is quite dense. It pushes the tonal values way back. The pastel will do that as well. But I find that the pastel is more useful as a surface because it modulates the underlying color well. I hope you understand that, because I think it's a principle in painting that is particularly attractive, at least the way I like to paint.